Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today I want to share my thoughts on who 22 became when they fell to Earth. There have been a lot of ideas and concepts swirling around, and I've got some thoughts to give because many of the characters I've seen considered seem absolutely impossible to be 22 based off of what we know about the soul world. There's been a lot of theories that have been popping up around 22's identity, which I totally understand, especially in the Pixar universe where ants, toys, cars, and trash compacting robots all seem to be able to live fulfilling lives with souls within them. The potential for life is exciting and the possibilities seem almost endless, but I truly don't think they are as limitless as I've heard. Now, first, I think it's important to note that there was an alternate ending according to Pete Docter, a writer and director of Soul, where Joe would not only be touring with Dorothea, but would also be teaching students, and it would be through that activity where he would eventually stumble upon a new student who he would be able to recognize as 22. The concept of Joe and 22 reuniting and having their futures more laid out was discussed, as I kind of had envisioned when I was watching the film for the first time. At first I thought it would be fascinating if Joe and 22 would be able to meet somehow again on Earth, but as soon as I saw her going to a completely different side of the world, that thought quickly went away from my mind as it became extremely clear that 22's body and mind would be completely unrecognizable to Joe. We were explicitly told by the Jerrys that all souls lose their memories when they begin their lives, and from 22 herself, she explained that her appearance and voice were only hypothetical constructs that she influenced in the youth seminar.
This is all an illusion.
Huh?
This whole place is a hypothetical.
I could sound like this if I wanted to.
Or sound like this instead.
And all of that means that on Earth, 22 could surely become anything. Now, while I think it would be intriguing to discover 22 turned into Dory or Violet or Colette, I just can't see most Pixar characters as a possibility for who 22 became. And one of the biggest factors for that is because they weren't born around the time that Joe Gardner got his big break with Dorothea Williams and almost went to the great beyond. Sure, in the soul world, the time doesn't behave the same way as it does down on Earth, but from my understanding of how the soul world is connected to Earth, based off of the film and the book, The Art of Soul, the soul world and everyone within it is tied to the present and seems to follow a single continuity.
You know, time's not really a thing here.
Time's up.
You know, I would absolutely believe that Terry and the Jerrys are entities that exist who are removed from time, but nonetheless, they manifest themselves as hypothetical depictions so they can interact with other beings who have limited ability to understand the complexities of the universe. They look like people and can only be in a limited number of places at one time and don't actually have the means to see everything that is going on throughout time. If the Jerrys were truly entities who weren't connected to time at all, they wouldn't have mistaken Joe Gardner for someone else when he arrived at the youth seminar, because they would have already seen in the future who he was and what he would be able to accomplish with 22. You also can't be frightened by the future or impressed in the present as a being who sees all of time and space at once, because you know everything that happens. All of this means that even the coming togethers of the universe are bound to some extent to the continuity of time on Earth, and this is further shown by where Terry goes when he tries to find 22 and Joe on Earth. If entities in the soul world could actually go to any point in the history of the universe, then Terry shouldn't have gone to the present to fix the count. He should have just gone to the moment on the path to the great beyond when Joe escaped. That leads me to believe that the portals opened in the soul world can't go to any point throughout time, and this continues to be seen throughout Soul. We've only ever seen souls connect to Earth in the present. In the Zone especially, we see artists, athletes, and passionate people there in the here and now. We aren't shown everyone who's connected to the Zone from throughout time, it's just the people who are currently experiencing it. That's why Moonwind and his mystic friends meet at the same time every Tuesday. That's also why when Joe hopes to enter his body again in a thin spot in the Zone, he sees himself in the hospital after his accident.
Now, concentrate on where your body is.
Joe can't decide to attempt to enter his body again right after he fell, even though I'm sure that would have been ideal since he was trying to get ready for his big performance that night. Instead, he sees himself in his now, because while time works weirdly in the soul world, it's not completely removed from the present. Joe's soul is connected to his body in the now. We are even told the astral plane is a space in the soul world that can be unpredictable, but even there, every portal opened by the mystics continues to behave like the portals by the Jerrys. They all act as a gateway from the soul world to the present on Earth. And the art of soul goes on to explain that the astral plane adheres to the same laws in astrophysics as the U seminar. It's all one interconnected reality. The most powerful beings in the soul world only open portals to the present, and in the most chaotic place in the soul world, portals only open to the present, which leads me to believe that the Earth portal at the center of the U seminar also can only bring souls to the present, which makes sense since all of the young souls are falling to one identical planet, meaning they are all going to Earth at the same point in history. Therefore, 22 couldn't have been born decades in the past to become Ellie, the witch from Brave, or a dinosaur, and she can't be Wally, a monster, or a car from hundreds of years in the future. 22 was entering her existence on Earth for the first time just before Joe Gardner got his second chance at life. And from the way that we saw Joe and 22 jumping into living bodies when they were directly above them in the zone, the way we saw souls be drawn to different places all across the planet when they got their Earth pass, and how we witnessed Joe diving into his own body again from the U seminar with 22's pass, I think it's clear that where 22 was heading when she fell is where she would be born. And knowing that, she doesn't seem to be falling to New York City to be near Joe. 22 appears to have fallen to Asia. So while it would have been incredible to have seen 22 fall and then imagine that a film like Inside Out would have taken place right afterward, showing 22 and Riley's eyes opening up for the first time, it's unlikely since Riley was actually born on the other side of the world to 22. And that's also true for other films like Up, A Bug's Life, and the human elements of Monsters, Inc. Even though they seem to have settings that resemble modern times, nonetheless, the characters we meet are all from America. Now, there is a popular idea that I originally saw on TikTok of all places that 22 might become the main character of Pixar's upcoming film Turning Red, which, believe it or not, comes out in 2022. In that story, a young girl named Mei Lee experiences a coming-of-age story where she's dealing with her strong devotion to a boy band, being seen as a bit of a confident dork, and the wild reality where when she becomes too excited, she becomes a giant red panda. And wildly enough, 22 appeared to have been falling towards Qinghai, China, which is the home of the red panda. But even though I would probably choose Mei to be who 22 would become if I had to choose, I'm still just not convinced that's her, because we don't know where Turning Red is going to take place, and we just don't know that much about Mei yet. Maybe once the film comes out, it'll become so much clearer whether or not 22 actually became her, but right now, I honestly feel like 22 is just alive somewhere. And in a similar way to Joe's future being left to interpretation, I like that for 22 as well. I don't think 22 has to become someone that goes on massive adventures, has magical powers, or saves the world. I love to explore plot holes and secrets and Easter eggs, but for me, I honestly just picture 22 as a normal boy or girl who's just having a good time jazzing. For me, I love the realization that 22 fell to Earth in modern-day Asia because that means that 22 gets to start a life of their own. We get to appreciate the character we knew before they become the person they are meant to be. As I said in my video on Soul's ending, sure, 22 will likely grow to become snarky, bullheaded, goofy, and a bit insecure at times, but beyond those personality traits, 22's life is completely left open. 22 could be any race or gender and might become a billionaire philanthropist or a poor farmer or a hip-hop dancer. She was pretty good at doing that, but we don't really know for sure either way. We truly have no way of knowing, which is a similar position that Joe is in. By observing how the soul world connects to Earth's present. Right now, I don't think 22 is ever going to see Joe again. I don't believe she's going to become a Pixar character we already know. And honestly, I just think that she's going to be a person like you or me who's just trying to have the happiest life she possibly can. But fun people, what do you think? Did 22 become a Pixar character, or is she just a typical person in the Pixar universe? Also, make sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell if you're new, and then click on another magical video in the description or on the screen. Finally, as always, thank you to my members on YouTube and my patrons. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day.